Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.
Send Solutions is proud to announce a software edition for the already certified AirText Plus that is set to revolutionize navigation security. This is the first independent spoof-proofing product on the market, designed to keep your navigation system accurate and error-free. Your exposure to spoofing is growing as the technology becomes more readily available. Find out how to protect aircraft from spoofing at goairtext.com.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, and even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
I'm currently using the Hartzell Talon, by far the best aerobatic propeller ever come out.
I use the Trailblazer. It adds performance to the Super Decathlon and dependability, and it's rugged.
Hartzell's been an excellent partner for Whip Air, just in terms of your product support as well as keeping an eye on the market and developing new products that meet demand.
It's helping us all have better performing airplanes.
It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
And good morning, Dallas. Good morning, AEA. Good morning, the rest of the aviation community. We are live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan, just outside Dallas, Texas. And we've been having a ball. Already done our breakfast burritos. We're pumped and ready to go. By the way, if you're in Dallas, Fuzzies, good stuff. So yay for that. We've got a heck of a lineup today. I'm really pleased. We've got some interesting folks, some fun folks, and more important, a lot of great technology to discuss. We'll be starting first with our friends from SAIS. We'll be going to Honeywell and Andrew Barker. TriStar Technologies has some of the coolest gadgets you've ever seen for those who are manufacturing and wiring and so forth within the community. And Katie Kerner will be here to talk to us about that. We've got Gary GPS Reeves of pilotsafety.org to talk about his work in training specifically in GPS and navigation systems. Collins is bringing us Mark Ayala. Smart Sky is bringing us Ryan Stone. Aeromech is bringing us Anthony Whitaker, and they're doing they've been demonstrating this week a Starlink installation on the King Air. Finally, Ash Vidge from Garden Avionics, and we finish the day with none other than Rick Perry, AEA's man in Washington, Mr. Regulation, and we're going to have some fun with him because once Rick gets going, stand back. So, first of all, Scott, welcome to Aero-News and, of course, our AEA coverage. Tell us what's new with SAIS.
Shortly after Oshkosh last year, we received our TSO for a new software-based fuel sender. And it was something that was in the wings. We'd originally tried out software from a standpoint of incorporation into the fuel sender, and then for reasons of longevity, for reasons of simplicity, we went over and built our units using programmable logic, which look a lot like a microprocessor, but a little simpler, and then they have longer lives because simply going through the FAA TSO process, it's not something you want to repeat too many times. The microprocessor is a little more advanced, but we had customer requests for a lot of different things, and we had developed some interesting technologies that we had found on our trials, on a boat. You basically put a tank on a boat, and we started solving issues with fuel quantity and sloshing and some of the dynamics, and thought, geez, it would be really nice to bring those into aviation. So we developed the unit, I would say a good 10 years ago, and we've been refining it over that time space. In that time space, it's been used on a few military applications that are out there, and also notably on the RDD LX7, which is that re-winged, re-tailed Lancer 4. Much improved airplane, by the way, but one carrying 100 gallons per side. So it gave us an opportunity to have a relatively complex airplane to try things out. We also developed on that aircraft a fuel balancing system that's based off of fuel quantity. So we really had to get our, literal ducks in a row, being Oregonians.
High-tech ducks.
The high-tech ducks. So, making an announcement about the TSO thing wasn't really productive because, if you don't have the other approvals on the STC, You know, it's sort of a hollow announcement. We'll be announcing for Sun and Fun that we'll have the Piper Malibu taken care of. That's been a particular pain point aircraft for us.
Airplane sorely in need of your services.
Yeah, it's a good airframe. We found that when we put 3 senders in to address the very commonly installed extended range tanks, that we got good coverage for basically sensor overlap in that platform. But we rotated the most outboard sender 90 degrees to its normal travel. There's little subtleties in measuring fuel. If you run the senders fore and aft in the airplane, they tend to be pitch sensitive, and they're also very sensitive to sensor handoff, or where one sensor, you know, is at the bottom or at the top of the tank and the other sender starts to rise due to the dihedral of the aircraft or wing. In the Malibu, what I'm finding, or what I believe to happen, and I'll be able to instrument it here, is that as fuel is burned, it's a long, flexible wing, and the flying dihedral must change as that fuel, the fuel weight is unloaded off the wing, which made the hesitation between the outboard sender and the inboard sender quite dramatic. Like 45 minutes, a half an hour, and it doesn't appear like you're burning fuel. Not what a pilot wants to see.
No.
Yeah. Well, they might if they believed that they weren't burning fuel and still traveling along. But it wasn't a great deal from our standpoint. So knowing that if we rotated the sender, we got good response, and also part of the new software is that we actually have pitch compensation. So we're able to actually either dial out that relief in the dihedral, or you know, it's another tool in our toolbox to address the issue. But we can also dial out the pitch sensitivity of the whole system entirely. And it really moves Part 23 fuel quantity into that realm of Part 25. Because all Part 25 systems for Boeing and business jets, you know, have to account for pitch because they're supposed to supply fuel quantity throughout the whole range of flight. And that's what we're getting to. We also have gotten some criticism, but it sort of falls once you put an accelerometer on board. Now I can dial out turbulence. Mm-hmm. I can dial out those customers who are worried that when they taxi, their fuel is moving. That's a high G maneuver. We all know fuel moves in the air. You can hear it. Yep. But we can dial out those anomalies so that what they see from an instrumentation standpoint is much more balanced. And we'll start rolling that out on other platforms, you know, as a premium product for use further on. And, you know, currently we're working with Racebeck on the King Air. That program is moving along fairly well. We've got some
good market
design reviews, and we're still moving forward with the throttles that we've talked about, which is really another use of that software-driven sensor piece. Because with the software, then I'm able to make comparative evaluations between a dual redundant system. So we're pretty active, and then most recently we moved into a new facility so we can expand. It just, when you move an aviation manufacturing facility, it's not all fun and games.
No, well, moving never is. And upgrading has to be even worse.
Yeah. But it's allowing us to buy more equipment, put more systems in place, have more room for growth. So it's a real positive move for us.
Excellent. So what's the future look like for you folks?
There's been some interesting discussions about water sensors for electric aircraft.
Okay.
There was a little bird, as this industry is filled with, landed on my shoulder and said that EASA, and they believe also the FAA is concerned with electric aircraft landing on water, and that the potential for electrocution or for people trying to save the occupants, that they want a dead shutoff for the battery system, since they want a redundant system. So we have a very robust technology. We're talking about combining with another sensor and the same technology we use for the throttle to create a crowbar system that if the electric aircraft were to land in water, that we can preserve the safety of both the occupants and those people set out to rescue them. So that's just something that appeared on our doorstep. We're doing a few more.
Sounds like an interesting problem.
It is.
You don't really consider things on that level until you start having to worry about where these machines are going and what they're going to be doing and what they're flying over, for that matter, and where they may wind up.
Yeah, it's my engineers embraced the problem. We sat down, came up with some really very credible solutions. So I think that element, and as you know, the popularity of this eVTOL market seems to be very robust. Give us a chance to participate, in another element of it with something we're very familiar with. We're still messing around with some other technologies, trying to expand our product line in fuel, add some additional capabilities related to motion control. We did a flap system for the Stratus jet for Karsten's project, just as a proof of concept. With envelope protection, where it's very dynamic, the flaps will start moving even if you're over speed for the final part of travel, but will only come down progressively as your speed drops. Okay. So you get an action that you expect when you move a switch, but you don't get the full effect until you're actually at the speed of which retraction is not structurally damaging to the aircraft or airframe. So there's some fun things that have captured our attention, and we continue to look for new opportunities, and we're more than willing to listen to opportunities that are out there.
Since you're in the fuel game, are you looking at some of the adapting some of your technologies to some of these alternative systems that may go as far afield as hydrogen and the like?
Hydrogen we have not considered. One of the big issue that we see on the horizon is that, as we move to unleaded fuel, we're well positioned. A float-based sensor simply sits on the surface, and density of the fluid makes relatively little implication. But these fuels, with the use of more ring molecules, or aromatics as they're referred to, those are polarized molecules, and so systems like capacitance to measure fuel in aircraft using avgas, like the classic Cessna penny cap systems, or even the Amatec system that they're using on the Piper Malibu, there are significant discrepancies in fuel quantity reporting with the use of those fuels. And so, we're well positioned to be able to address that issue with STCs to replace penny cap, and also, as previously mentioned, on the Piper Malibu. But those are, there's nothing that's going to be left untouched when we do make this transition finally. And there's some good. I just talked to GAMI just recently, and we've been working with them and making sure that we're compatible and that we work effectively, but trying to help them work through these issues so that they're knowledgeable about what pitfalls can befall them. But for all other alternate fuels, We haven't looked at it. We have some side projects to measure some really interesting things like formic acid for a company doing CO recovery. But hydrogen, that one's sitting out there a little bit far for us.
Well, we're seeing some really interesting permutations utilizing hydrogen-based technologies, and I think that's one that has some serious potential. So it's going to be interesting to see where, when, and how we adapt all of our technologies to utilize it.
Yeah.
So you're one of these guys that comes up and builds a better mousetrap. This is an industry that kind of looks at new things with a combination of excitement and wariness, and it's kind of difficult sometimes, especially in regards to areas where people don't know you and things of that nature. How did you make inroads? How did you get to the point of being accepted, especially now as an OEM edition and things of that nature?
Yeah, it's I've had an interesting career history, and I think the very interesting formative years of working with some ex-Boeing Vertol people, one of whom was a very good structural engineer, the other one was a very good idea guy. We sat there with the idea guy working on helicopter dynamics, thinking that we could actually build a time machine. So if you study if you look at the equations for helicopter motion on a chalkboard, maybe there was an idea, and I do remember looking at a model helicopter, where we had put a few more degrees of freedom in and hoping that it would disappear, but it sort of opened up the idea of creativity, but getting people to accept. The second job I had was working in corporate aircraft making modifications, and I would make modifications on Dassault aircraft look like Dassault modifications. I would make modifications on Bombardier look like Bombardier modifications, or Gulfstream or Cessna, and it was just the observation of what the lingua franca of that particular engineering organization saw as worthwhile solutions. And it just got me involved in many ways listening to what the customer was asking for and giving it back to them in a manner that was palatable to them. Cirrus in the GA side, I had worked extensively with the Columbia aircraft that started in Bend as a board engineer. But then I was able to take, that dog and pony show to Cirrus and go, hey, we can do this, or we can do that. And since I'm a native Midwesterner, I was able to speak their language as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been fun watching you. It's been fun watching each incremental jump in technology. And we're very much looking forward to the future. We hope you'll keep us up to date. And most important, just keep innovating. This industry needs all of it that we can get, especially in areas which in the past have been so problematic. Fuel senders being a big deal. They work, they don't work, we don't know if they're working. It's an interesting game, so I'm glad somebody applied a new path to getting things done right.
Well, thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, we're going to take a little break here, folks. Coming up on deck, if I remember correctly, is Andrew Barker. I think they're trying to hunt him down right now, but we will be back in just a few moments. This is the Aero-News Network's live coverage of the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We will be right back. And here we go again. All right, we are at the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show here in Dallas, Texas. We are at the Texas Gaylord, and to make a long story short, we've had a ball out here. I don't know if AEA's got a record here yet or not, but they're pretty close. The best part is it's obviously a vibrant industry, resurgent industry, and we're still feeling a little bit of the COVID years, but right now it's obvious that everybody's in not just a recovery mode, but an upgrade mode. It's exciting to watch. So let's talk Honeywell. We brought in Andrew Barker, otherwise known as The Hat.
The Hat.
The Hat.
That's right.
And trying to get updated on what's all the newest and latest and greatest in Honeywell.
All right.
Take it away, Andrew.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And agreed, I want to second what you said about the crowd here today. It's been really a fantastic show for us. We've been super busy at the booth. Of course, we're showing Anthem here for the first time at an AEA convention publicly. We've had it kind of in some back rooms and stuff before, but really first time for the crowd here to really be able to see and touch Anthem and to get some real live demo work with it. So that's gone really, really well. Of course, lots of fun stuff going there with Anthem. We're super excited about how that project is coming along. A couple of different RMU options that we're working on and some good OE stuff as well. Both in the fixed wing and in the AAM side as well. So lots of good stuff going there. Got a couple of new things that we're working on also in the avionics side of the world with of course our compact fly-by-wire and all the fun stuff that we're doing there. So yeah, lots of great stuff going.
Well, let's start with Anthem. What's the status of that project? What's the market looking like, and how are people responding?
Status of the project is it's moving forward, right? I don't like, you know me, I don't like to talk dates and timelines and stuff like that, but it's doing kind of exactly what we're expecting right now. You know, we flew our PC-12 to Oshkosh last year. That was really the first public outing of true Anthem, right? What we have here is, of course, demo hardware, but that is a plan again for this year. So we'll have PC-12 out at Oshkosh again this year, barring some unknown changes, right? But at this point in time, plan to again take that and have another great public showing of Anthem. A couple of maybe fun things up our sleeve there that we'll try to do that we'll maybe talk about later. Get you a little more involved in the things that we're going to be doing there at Oshkosh. But no, it's moving forward. Great program. It's a huge program, right? It takes a long time, a lot longer than my mind likes to wrap around sometimes for some of these things to really get to the finish line. But making great progress. We're really happy with how it's going. We're flying it a lot.
What market segments do you think are going to be attaching themselves to that first? Where are you targeting?
That's a really good question. There's a couple of different areas where we're working today in the Part 23 fixed wing, working in some Part 25 fixed wing stuff as well. And then of course in the AAM market is kind of where Anthem really got its start. But we're really evaluating, one of the things I'm here doing today, honestly, is evaluating where that, let's say the bottom end of Anthem really is going to start.
Okay.
You know where the top end is. That's an easy one for us to do. But Anthem, because of the way it's designed with its building block approach, we can really, and through partnerships that we've got with a lot of folks that are here, we can bring that down market further than maybe what we might have originally expected it to. So there's a lot of excitement for me and for my team to really get into see what that general aviation aspect of Anthem is going to look like. So there's a lot of work going on in that domain right now.
At the same time, that segment of the industry is highly competitive.
For sure.
You're up against the Gorilla.
That's true.
And some other players who are quite brilliant but haven't got quite the acceptance they deserve.
Yep.
How do you place yourself in that, especially since you are legitimately a legacy manufacturer? I mean, you've been out there since God wore sneakers.
That's right.
But at the same time, you know, there are all these upstarts. It's the new guys, the old guys, the ones that are somewhere in the middle.
That's right.
But trying to compete in that area and stake a claim's got to be kind of difficult right now.
For sure it is. And to be very clear, I don't envision Anthem as being an end-all be-all that can encompass everything, right? There is definitely going to be a natural bottom of where that product can go.
Okay.
Right? So it's really not designed to be everything for everyone, but it's certainly designed to have that building block approach and be able to be very scalable, right? And some of the things we're doing with the connectivity side and some of the just kind of the different UI stuff that we've done that's that fits maybe better into general aviation than what our historical fit might have been as Honeywell, right? So obviously, you know, the Bendix King brand has lots of different stuff that we've done there historically, but we're kind of trying to renew that, maybe not renew, bring that Honeywell brand in and make sure that general aviation knows that Honeywell is here as well to do really great things in GA.
I would like to see that happen. For a while there, we were wondering, but now's the time for everybody to stake a claim because everybody's hard charging again. That's kind of nice to see.
I'm still here with the cowboy hat, so you know.
Well, there you go. Some things never change.
That's right. That's right.
You came into the Honeywell spectrum because of your work with the autopilots and the like, and so forth.
That's right.
How has that line survived the transition to Honeywell?
It's actually still going very strong. In fact, I was talking with our friends at Duncan who were working on the Mooney STC with a partnership with them, and it's still going very strong. In fact, I'm quite proud personally that
watching your kids do well.
That's exactly right. My baby's all grown up and doing great things on their own now, right? So, yeah, it's been almost 5 years now since I came to Honeywell, since the acquisition of TrueTrack. I've done lots of different things over the years at Honeywell, and really enjoying getting kind of back to GA a little bit and working on that avionics side where my true passion is. I had a lot of fun in the UAM, AAM world, doing sales and stuff there, but really back into the business side, and that's really exciting for me right now.
Speaking of UAM and AAM, you guys are really trying to stake some claims in that area.
You bet.
Where do you see your best offense, if for lack of a better way to put it?
There's a lot of movement there for sure, right? We look at that industry as you know, you talked about the kids growing up, right? They're still very, very young, and there is great opportunity there. And so we love this game that we call our pick the winner, and it moves a lot. It changes a lot. Who we think's the leader in the time is going to change kind of frequently in that market. You know, funding and programmatics and all of those things are very big variables. Obviously, it's no shock, and it's very public that we're working very closely with Lilium and Vertical and Supernal.
Cool machine.
There's many others out there that we are working with as well. Some unannounced that we are contracting with, and lots of pursuits. So we're continually evaluating that market for sure. Again, because I ran the sales, I'm super closely tied into that team still. It's a really exciting market. Yeah, some of them aren't going to make it for sure.
Some of them?
Well, hopefully some of them make it. We'll put it that
way.
The
bloodbath is coming, but at the same time, the thing you get from massive tech adventures, if you want to call it like this, is what filters out afterwards to change the rest.
All of that technology is being developed.
Major toys coming our way.
The winners and the losers in this round maybe aren't so important because all the technology, and honestly for us even, the things we're doing with Anthem and laying that foundation and that groundwork with Anthem and the fly-by-wire working together to get to that next generation of simplified vehicle operations, reduced crew operations, things to, you know, ground control stations and all the fun stuff that's going to come in the next couple of decades. We're building that foundation today. So while it's important that we see some of these folks win, it's really important that we get the technology that we need to be able to do those things going forward.
Well, nothing like a little adventure here and there,
that's
right?
Good fun. Good fun.
How is your acceptance right now within the business aviation community? Is that stabled out a bit?
That's going really well. You know, obviously Epic is still going very strong. Our Apex system and Epic, right, going very strong there. But you know, the plan is to start getting Anthem worked in there. So we are obviously interfacing with all of those existing customers and new customers in the business aviation market. Anthem is going to be a great product there. The size, weight, and power savings and cost savings are really going to be fantastic for the market just as a whole. Plus, of course, adding more technologies and capabilities and just all the great stuff that we're doing with Anthem. I think it's really going to be a great fit there too.
What messages are you getting from the customer base right now? What are they expecting of Honeywell?
The message I'm getting is go faster, we want Anthem sooner.
Yeah, well, that's
right?
aviation.
So it's a good problem to have.
Right? Has to.
That's right. It's a good problem to have. No, but honestly, the feedback we're getting is very, very positive on all the things we're doing with Anthem, and it's very important. As the product does continue to mature, it lets us work those things in along the way. So because of those relationships we formed there on both the AAM and then the business aviation side, the product just continues getting better and better as we go. So we take that feedback very seriously. It's very important to us.
Well, you came out of being an avionics entrepreneur into one of the guerrilla companies of aviation history. What has this process taught you?
It's been, honestly, I look back and I think of all the things I didn't know a few years ago, and the opportunities that Honeywell has given me to learn and grow has actually been really, really wonderful. And because of the way that we do some things within the company, I still have the opportunity to do those entrepreneurial things, and I get to be a mentor in some of the upstart programs and things that we have within the company. So I still get to scratch that itch, and so that's a really great thing. But I'm certainly a lot better at business than I was 5 years ago. I felt like I was pretty good for a small company, but now, you know, having run our avionics business here in the last year or so, there's a lot more that I know now. And so now I think, all right, well, what's the next 5 years going to look like? How much am I going to know then, and how much more fun are we going to have along the way?
It was kind of funny when you went over, there's a kind of a running joke that the next time you see Andrew, he's going to have a crew cut and a three-piece suit and this, that, and the other. And I'm going, have you met him? Have you talked to him for more than 5 minutes?
Yeah, the long hair and the hat are just kind of part of the brand. They just got to stay. It's all I am. It's all I got.
Yeah, well, no, I'm glad that part of it hasn't changed, but it's that spirit, though, who you are and so forth, that builds this industry. Every entrepreneur here, I mean, I've got a list of people here who just do really incredible stuff.
Yep.
And we're about to talk to the TriStar Technology people who have gear that nobody will ever talk about because it's just the stuff in the background. But when you look at what they do, you're just kind of going, whoa. Or Ashford and his Guardian operation.
Yep, exactly.
He's showing me stuff the other day where he's taking my pulse ox and everything else and heart rate and putting it up on the Garmin, and I'm sitting there going, oh man, I'm in trouble. But
I love it.
It's
love
extraordinary.
this stuff. Ash is a great longtime friend. He and I are always sitting down and talk. Well, characters hang with characters. That's what we do, right? So no, I love that technology side of what we do, and this is a great show, honestly, for me to reconnect with my friends and sit down and talk about all the cool stuff that we're working on, and to find those opportunities to work together. We've got countless partners in this room that without the relationships that we've built over the last couple of decades, we wouldn't be able to bring the technologies to market that we are today without those relationships. So those are super important to me, and of course anyone that knows me knows that.
Cool. Final question.
Yeah.
What's the future look like for you guys?
Ooh, it's exciting. It's exciting. You know, I said I'm kind of getting back to the GA side of the world a little bit here, doing some investigating to find out where that line is for Anthem. Because of the work that I've done in our UAM, AAM business, I'm really excited about pulling a lot of those technologies together and seeing what general aviation and business aviation can really do when we bring a lot of these new core technologies together. So there's a lot of excitement for me in that domain. I kind of talked about, you know, SVO and RCO and things like that. I'm still an autopilot guy at heart, so I'm always interested in what we can do to make aircraft safer and more fun to fly at the same time. So I expect you'll see some fun stuff from us there for sure.
I look forward to it. Andrew Barker of Honeywell, we will take a break here. We sure appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet.
Talking to the hat again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, folks, we're going to for a short break, then we're bringing on Katie Kerner of TriStar Technologies. We've got a heck of a list today. Following Katie is Gary Reeves from Pilot Safety, who's doing some extraordinary work in flight instruction, and he's got a really interesting story. He just did a whole flight instruction project with the Coast Guard.
Yes, my pink shirt friend, Gary.
Well, there you go.
Love Gary to death. Another great guy.
Yeah, another guy that's recognizable from 50 yards.
That's right.
There you go. Collins, Smart Sky, Aeromech, Guardian, and of course Rick Perry from AEA to tell us what is and what is not working within the regulatory community. The question is, once you get them started, can you get them to stop? It's going to be fun. So we're live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord, Texas. We will be right back. And welcome back to the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. Hope you're having as much fun with this as we are. But for now, we're going to work through a phenomenal list of really interesting tech leaders within the avionics community who are in charge of some of the coolest gadgets ever. And when we're talking about gadgets, we got to talk to Katie Kerner, TriStar Technologies, because every airplane needs componentry. Every airplane needs to be wired. Every airplane needs ways to identify some of that componentry or crimp this or label that. And I guess, if you'll excuse the politically incorrect term, you're the guys.
We're the guys. That's what we do, and we've been doing it for about 35 years now. And just want to say thank you so much for having me here. And it's really great to be back at AEA, and the energy here has been phenomenal. It's just it's packed.
All pumped up.
All pumped up.
Let's go out and make millions.
That's right.
There you go. First of all, explain to everybody out here who TriStar Technologies is.
So TriStar Technologies, we've been around, as I said, for about 35 years, and we build laser marking equipment and we automate the crimping process. So a lot of processes that are very laborious, very time consuming, we have automated them. They are mil-spec compliant, and we service the aviation industry, both commercial and military.
Not to mention the fact that it's a real safety issue to have things labeled the way it should be.
Absolutely.
And so forth. I remember looking at the harness that was built for my R9 installation in my SR-22, and I was looking at that and kind of going, how do we figure that out? But every single thing was labeled and so forth, a little bit amateurishly in those days, but it got done. But you just had to know this had to be done right, otherwise you had bigger problems down the line.
That's right, and we ensure that our equipment allows you to label those wires and cables correctly. So we make laser wire marking equipment, and it fully automates the process. So you put in a spool of wire, you upload an Excel spreadsheet, and you can fully determine length of wire, any message you want, logos. We have customers that do barcodes now to really identify where things need to go. Hit start, and the machine will dereel it, measure it, mark it, cut it, and coil it for you. So you basically have a wire kit ready to go for you at the end.
So you made some news here this week. Tell us what's new.
We did. We were really excited to introduce a completely new product. As I said, we also automate crimping, and we take what's really a time-consuming and laborious process, and we
use a great way to break up fingers and
yes, and carpal tunnel syndrome and everything else.
Oh, let's not go there. I'm feeling it already.
And we use mil-spec approved indenters, and we fully automate it. So we have introduced what we call our TAC Ultra. It's an automated crimper, and we're really excited about this new crimper because it takes some features and capabilities that we've had in our other crimpers in our product line, and it combines it into one unit. And so it really has the capability to accommodate closed barrel contacts, mil-spec contacts of any size, shape, shouldered, unshouldered, even those with retaining rings, and it fully automates the process. So all the operator needs to do is take a pre-stripped wire, insert it, and it will crimp. It can cycle once every 4 seconds, so you get 900 crimps an hour. So that really speeds up your production rate.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, that'll be challenging to do by hand, yes.
Oh man, it doesn't sound like any fun at all. What else is new?
So we've got that. We have also some new laser marking capability. We came out with a new Meteor that is very high speed. That one can laser mark production up to over 300 feet per minute as well. Folks use that when they extrude wire. We have upgraded our actual just laser wire markers that we've been making for a while, so they're now fully air-cooled, they're robust. You can put them on a cart and wheel them around your hangar to different job sites and turn them on. They're ready to go within 30 seconds, and off you go. You can laser mark. So we've got a lot of products that really help speed up production, maintain compliance, adds repeatability, reliability. Our crimpers really handle FOD prevention as well, because you now have all of your contacts in one place, in one bowl. They're all allocated for, so you don't have things floating around in aircraft that maybe shouldn't be there.
Oops.
Yeah, very excited.
Outstanding. Who comes up with these ideas? I mean, when you think of what you do and the amount of work it accomplishes, and the role it plays in all this, you just kind of have to scratch your head and go, man, I never would have thought of that in a million years.
Yeah, it's definitely a team effort, but I will have to give a lot of credit to Alex, the CEO and owner of TriStar Technologies. He is constantly thinking of new ideas, constantly innovating, trying to make any product better, different. How can we best service the customer? But yes, we're constantly reinvesting and developing new products. We've got a couple others under development that we're really excited about, and hopefully we'll be able to unveil next year at AEA.
No hints? Oh, come on, just
Not
between
yet.
you, me, and 3 cameras and our
And just 3
closest buddies all over the world.
We're looking at some novel laser marking that will make it even more versatile, more mobile, and more adaptable to smaller environments.
Where is equipment like this placed?
The
Where might we see this in action? Who are your customer base?
Oh my goodness, our customer base, we're fortunate enough to have a very broad customer base. We work with all major aerospace companies around the world. We have our equipment installed at military facilities all over the world. And we work with, actually most of our customers are here at AEA today as well. Everyone who repairs or works on aircraft to large aerospace corporations. So we will work with anyone that deals with aerospace and defense.
When you're dealing with a background product, it's not flashy like a new airplane or a new engine and so forth, or a new glass panel or the like. What's your market approach? Is this something where it just becomes head-to-head, handshake-to-handshake, and call-to-call?
A lot of it is actually word of mouth in our customers. We really pride ourselves on having reliable, great products.
Okay.
And we've been really fortunate where our customers are our biggest advocates. So we get a lot of phone calls thanking us for the great products that we make. We get a lot of times where customers stop by our booth to thank us and say, hey, you got to go buy this. This is great. So a lot of customers will do our advertising for us.
Gotta like that.
We love that, and that's really what we pride ourselves in. It's customer service. We will service our products for their lifespan and make sure they're reliable and that everyone's happy with them.
Well, building a relationship like that with your customer base, you must get a lot of interesting feedback, especially in regards to product development.
We do, and we try to incorporate some of that feedback. So we talk to our customers all the time, and we definitely try to incorporate our feedback in our next generation development that we do. Our customers really guide us and tell us in terms of what they want, what's working, where we can improve some features or add some new features, and that's something that's constantly under development.
Well, again, we've seen your products at work, and you try to figure out how you come up with something like that, or even for that matter how it works, and you just kind of stand back and go, yeah, no, not me. So, and especially after talking to Alex throughout the years, who one is a first-class character, love him to death, but he's got these phenomenal insights into just how you can make things easier, smarter, faster, cheaper, so forth and so on. It's quite brilliant.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And we've had just a ball talking to him. He's been great. I think our first exposure to him was we did some video work courtesy of a friend of his and a friend of ours. And they roll this thing out in front of us, and we're kind of going, it does what? And watching this, I'm just sitting back going, man, there are just smarter people in this room than I. So
appreciate it. We are an engineering company at heart, and that's what we love to do. And so we're constantly developing and trying to make things better.
How do you feel right now with your position within the industry and how the industry is growing at this point here in 2024 after a couple of years that shall not be named again?
Excited. It's
cool.
You can
like
really
that.
feel the energy here, and I think you previously mentioned resurgence and growth, and that's definitely what we're seeing. Our customers are excited. There's a lot of work out there. A lot of folks are doing upgrades, and we're really excited to help them along that journey. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity, and just a lot of excitement in the air, and we're really grateful to be part of that.
Any particular observations on this AEA convention, things that you're seeing or experiencing that impressed you?
Well, aside from the fact that it's absolutely packed, which has been fantastic, a lot of excitement and growth. A lot of folks are looking to expand. start up new businesses, a lot of new work, new contracts coming in. So there's just this general feel of optimism in the air that we're very happy to be part of.
Well, I think overriding in all, this industry is gifted, I guess the best way to put it, with an association that's one of the best we've ever worked with.
Absolutely.
They are sharp. They always have been sharp. They were sharp under Paula, they're sharp under Mike and all the gang there, but it's not a very big organization from a staffing standpoint, but for some reason, somehow, they managed to get it all done.
They do a great job, and they put on a great show every year. Every year it gets better and better.
Yeah, we've done a bunch of these, and we're looking forward to many more. So how can people get more information on your product line now that they're so suitably entranced that, oh man, I got to go get me one of those?
Well, if you're fortunate enough to be at AEA, we're at booth 419. And for the folks that aren't, please visit our website. We're tristartechnologies.com, and you can find all the information and get in touch with us. We're happy to help.
And you got a bunch of great videos now too.
We do, thanks to
Nathan. Yay.
Thanks to Nathan.
There we go. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending a little bit of time with us here. Hopefully it hasn't been too painful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're glad to have you. Alrighty, folks, it's time for a little bit more of a break. We're following here with Gary Reeves from pilotsafety.org. Gary's doing some really intriguing work in flight instruction, but specifically in how to utilize GPS and associated navigation systems to not only get you where you're going, but keep you out of trouble. And you just finished a great project teaching a bunch of folks in the Coast Guard, which had to be a whole lot of fun because Coast Guard pilots fly in some of the most atrocious stuff you've ever seen. So they've got my undying respect, and Gary as well. So we will be back in just a few moments. We are live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan, just outside Dallas. Give me a couple of minutes and we will be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Send Solutions is proud to announce a software edition for the already certified AirText Plus that is set to revolutionize navigation security. This is the first independent spoof-proofing product on the market, designed to keep your navigation system accurate and error-free. Your exposure to spoofing is growing as the technology becomes more readily available. Find out how to protect your aircraft from spoofing at goairtext.com.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.
Flying is my entire life. It's all that I've ever known. I've relied on Hartzell propellers since about 1995. Hartzell means much more than a propeller. It's a relationship. When you hear the phrase built on honor, they care about us as pilots, they care about our community, and they care about the product they build. It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
And here we are again. We are live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan. Just having a ball talking to folks that are pushing the technology edge as far as they possibly can in an industry that's been driving aviation along, probably more so than other segments for quite a few years. And we're really pleased to represent them and be working with them here. This is our, I think, 16th year or such doing the live streaming with them. And it's just been a ball each time talking to the hundreds of people we have over the years about how they're impacting aviation. Speaking of impacting aviation, we're going to introduce Gary Reeves. Gary, you have become Mr. GPS.
The guy in the pink shirt?
Well,
and I actually brought one.
That too. It was funny, we got two people who are particularly recognizable, with Andrew Barker with his little cowboy hat, right. And then we go, yeah, and then there's Gary in the pink shirt. So when you're inbound to be a guest, you know, we can see all the way down the hall. Yep, there he is. He's on his way. So it worked out pretty well.
How you been, man? Good to see you.
Doing well.
Again.
Just busier and on one-arm paper hanger and trying to get ready for Sun and Fun and Friedrichshafen and everything else. It's insane, but
I think you're the only guy that's busier than I am.
That's trouble. That's real trouble. Before we get into some of your other activities, let's talk about a project you had recently with the U.S. Coast Guard.
Yeah, it's I've just had a spectacular life. I've always been well known as the expert to teach GPS, autopilots, glass panels. The Garmin panels are so beautiful, and the Avidyne and Genesis stuff. And I've been able to go all over the world and do that, but I've started doing some really large fleets. The U.S. Coast Guard shut down the Aviation Training Center, the National Aviation Training Center in Mobile, Alabama, for one day to have me come in and be the primary speaker. I got to train over 250 people how to use an amazing, it's called the Collins Honeywell Common Avionics something structure, where there's all these bits of Honeywell King Collins stuff, Honeywell King stuff put in the panel, and they have DME-based RNAV with TACAN, ADF, and a non-WAS GPS. And everyone's like, well, why would the Coast Guard hire you? Well, the Coast Guard's unlike every military branch. I actually got to train a light attack Marine helicopter squadron before, but The interesting thing about the Coast Guard is they don't land at military bases. They mostly operate in the civilian national airspace. And they really needed help, like, well, what procedures can we do and what's the best way to file? And it was such an honor and such a kick. And that was amazing. And in 3 days, I'm actually going down to Houston to train the Houston Police Department Air Support Division. So I've gotten these really cool
fun gigs.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It does sound like fun. So what have you been doing to this point? We talked to you last year, a lot of activities and so forth. What's been filling your roster lately?
A lot of cool fleet training deals. But I'm really focused, particularly at this show, you know, my closest friends are avionics dealers. Like, I tell everybody I don't have friends. Well, I do have great circle friends, and I get to see you and Holland and everybody every 3 months at a convention. But to really help avionics dealers, I'm now giving out free getting started videos on Garmin GTNs and the 175, 355, 375 series, and the Avidyne IFDs and the Genesis autopilots. So dealers are able to get a stack of cards where when people first get a quote, they can get the basic training they need to be really safe when they pick up their airplane that's all new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's actually saving the dealers a lot of time and money because they're getting a lot less phone calls about their autopilot being broken. When it actually is working, they're pushing the wrong buttons. So, no, it helps
broke, you
them
just
and
don't
me.
know how to operate it, dummy.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, the early days when we were flying where the only thing we could mess up was an audio panel, but every ILS worked like an ILS. It's not that way. You know, there have actually been several fatal NTSB FAA incident reports where they are now specifically mentioning there is no documented proof of recent training on new avionics. You know, great pilot needs a little help sometimes.
Yeah. So there have been some high-profile accidents of late. There's one recently with a young lady who obviously didn't understand her autopilot, so forth and so on, and that one was a tragedy, and there's others that come up, and there's just no excuse in the world for not getting up to date, not training, and not gaining a certain level of competence before going airborne.
Well, you know the problem is other pilots. So I'm on Facebook because I'm forced to be. And I see repeatedly in Garmin avionics user groups and in ForeFlight user groups and Avidyne and Genesis user groups that somebody will like upgrade to a new GTN 750, which the 750XI is the most beautiful thing on the planet. And everyone will say, well, you don't need training. You can download, and remember, people on Facebook are experts and they're always right. They go, oh, you don't need training. It's intuitive.
Do not get me started on that one.
And you can just download the iPad simulator and play with it. Well, you should download their iPad simulator and play with it. You should go up with a local CFI, not an expert. They think they're good, and they are the basics, because that's how you learn the basics. But you'll never learn why it went wrong or how to react in an emergency. And so our own team is telling our own team, you don't need training. And unfortunately, people believe it.
Ouch.
But, you know, Facebook people are always right.
Yeah, the problem is the web is a double-edged sword. Some really good people are doing some great work on there, but there's a lot more people doing what they think is great work or they hope is great work and is not great work, or just totally diluted anyway, and they're doing a lot of damage to the industry, and it's hard to counter that.
You know, there are some really popular YouTube channels from certified flight instructors that are very popular, and they're the nicest people on the planet. And I look at some of the stuff they teach, and I'm like,
no,
that's it's not just wrong, that's unsafe, because they don't have the real world experience that old people like me have, and they got taught it by somebody. And you know, we tend to pass down these problems because you can only teach what you learn. So,
have you considered targeting some of the most misunderstood aspects of not just the gear, but the procedures?
Yeah, especially for CFIs. Yeah. So, you know, my single pilot IFR pro tips book, yay.
Yeah. Quick, promo the book, promo the book.
5,000 people have bought copies in the first 2 years.
It's a good run.
My new book was 5,000 copies in 3 weeks.
Oh, there you go.
Because I pay a lot of my own money every year to print them for free, and they are free to any future or current ground or flight instructor in the US. And it actually started with a grant from Avemco. Avemco's always supported me. And they go, we'd like you to help more CFIs. I'm like, absolutely. So Avemco asked me to provide a free video to help CFIs with common misunderstandings. I went, yeah, and, oh wait, that's not enough. So now we have 6 videos. And the best thing about the book, and the reason I am totally willing to pay 50 grand a year and pay for and print these books and give them out for free, is I don't write them. It's not a Gary CFI Pro Tips book. It's CFI Pro Tips from the very best instructors in the country. Everybody you know, John Niehaus, Karen Kalashak, David, it's like the best instructors in the country are submitting their tips and stories. But you know, the best tip in the whole book came from a 45-hour private pilot that never wants to be an instructor. And it's the best tip in the book. I loved my instructor, and my instructor was brilliant, but I had a problem with them. They were so smart, and they had so much information to share, they never shut up. I constantly missed radio calls because I couldn't hear the radio, and I never was asked if I had a question. And I'm like, oh my God, he means me. And then I looked at the name, I'm like, no, I never trained him. But I'm the supposed master instructor, national instructor of the year, and I wonder how much I talk. Holland's laughing because she knows I'm very quiet and shy. I wonder if I have been talking too much where they didn't get to absorb it all, and it changed the way I started teaching.
The psychology of teaching is a whole science in and of itself.
And everything's free on my website, pilotsafety.org, and click on CFI Pro Tips, and it's all free, paid for by Avemco, and I kick in a little bit too.
There you go.
So, and it gets promoted by you know.
Well,
that's how people learn about it.
We're trying to promote the industry and safety and the things that people are doing that are right, and obviously you're one of them. What are you learning for projects like this? There's got to be an interesting kind of feedback that occurs when you're putting yourself out on the leading edge of instructing these particular protocols, and some of the data coming back has to be stunning.
You know, it really is. Everyone goes, Gary, what do you do for fun? I go, well, I travel around the country doing 3-day trainings for people with new avionics, and I speak at conventions, and they're like, what do you do for fun? I go, well, that's what I do. I'm on the road 250 nights a year. And they go, well, don't you have a hobby? And I go, well, I read NTSB serious injury and fatal accident reports.
Ouch.
Well, because if I can learn how to prevent them, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I've seen, and I actually have the data of, it's a building trend where the NTSB and the FAA are now actually putting in the reports. This guy got a brand new panel from brand X, but there was no documented training on the new avionics in his logbook. They're actually looking for training and starting to recognize that training on new stuff is a thing. So I think the FAA is going to lead the way, especially the FAA safety team, which I'm happy to be part of. I think they're going to lead the way in helping people realize that training is important. I think you're always safer with an autopilot than hand flying. And I kind of have a fun way to prove that. Do you have a dog?
I certainly do.
Okay.
A real character too.
And how many times, Jim, does Masuko find you outside in your underwear at 3 a.m. barking to keep the cats out of your yard?
So far, none, thank God.
Why would you stand outside in your underwear at 3 a.m. and bark at the cats if you bought a dog? Because barking at the cats is the easy thing. You can do the big picture and keep the house safe. People react strongly to this. I'm telling you, in my personal opinion, nobody should ever be hand flying a plane when the autopilot can do that simple stuff, and you can look at the engine and look at weather 200 miles out.
I always taught the autopilot as a time management device.
And it reduces workload. Now, all that being said, obviously I love GPS. Obviously I love autopilots. Do me a favor, everybody, once a month, file a flight plan to a VOR, fly a Victor Airway segment to another VOR, and do a circling VOR approach.
Oh boy.
Circle to land, publish missed, and do not put the flight plan in your beautiful Garmin or Avidyne avionics. Do not turn on your iPad. Take a safety pilot, and you are not allowed to use the autopilot. If once a month everybody hand flew old style with a timer, then they're really good at automation because they can fly without it too. So
cool.
Or bark at cats for yourself. Either way.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to avoid that part. We'll see. Although my dog does a pretty good job of that. We'll see. So what's next for you? What big projects are in your future?
Well, I'm just so honored that the people even call me. I get to go train the Houston Police Department in 3 days. They bought a Gips Aerovan.
Oh, that's a fun ride.
Oh yeah, and it's got this amazing all Garmin panel. And I'm like, okay, so what are you doing with it? I expect speed trap on it. Nope. We do very intricate surveillance, and they do active drug interdiction, where they're like going after the people, and they go, we don't have to fly a plane, like our rotor people don't have to fly, but we want to be great in high stress situations at using all the capabilities of this Garmin panel that they got. And Garmin's amazing, especially if you know it to a mastery level, because when you're chasing bad guys at night in marginal VMC, having those tools in the training really works. Yeah.
You got to have the basics down, because when you start complicating it with extraneous tests, that's when things get a little weird. Actually, I have some experience many years ago flying for ATF.
Okay.
And, everything from all the way through the night in a 172 at a very low power setting, following this car, doing this, doing that, and just thinking of what I have to manage while we're also managing the surveillance. Not easy.
When you're listening, it's not 2 radios that law enforcement listens to or fire. They've got 6 radios going on, and working a GPS, and looking outside, and working infrared set. It's a lot. So the very best pilots work military, fire, law enforcement, and they have all the tools, but they need help in the easiest ways to use them that doesn't distract. And that's what I'm so happy to do.
There you go. Well, Gary, where can people get more information on what you're doing?
Honest to goodness, if you Google Gary, guy in the pink shirt, I'm not hard to find. But it's pilotsafety.org, and there's free getting started videos on Garmin and Avidyne and S-Tech stuff. Obviously paid mastery level videos on all of the GPS lines. And the reason I created those $200 6-hour video series is everybody wants to do a 3-day with me, but they can't take 3 days off work, or they can't get on my calendar. So everybody can get a lot of what I teach in a video format, and books and articles and all this free stuff. And the best thing about it is I would love to hear from people that not only agree with me, it's always nice to hear I'm wonderful. If you disagree with anything I say, I would love to hear
Well, that's where you
why.
learn. That's where you learn.
Because I gotta tell you, I've been so adamant about something for several years, and then somebody goes, well, I think you're wrong because this. And I go, you're right, and I change the way I teach. And even if we don't agree, there's going to be benefits to having both sides. So I would love that if people would reach out.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a flight instructor for many years, I've always learned more from my students than I thought I was ever going to be able to teach. And I was never a better pilot than when I was teaching.
Yeah, I owned a company. I was fine. Teaching was a hobby. And then it became an addiction, and 22 years later, I've got a wall full of articles, and I get to hang out with you and get these weird reward plaques. When I won the National Instructor of the Year, I honestly think nobody else was nominated that year. I think I got it by default. But
no, I know that's not true.
I am really an amazing safe pilot because of everything my students have taught me.
There you go.
If they ask you a question you don't know and you have to go Google it, it really makes you better.
There you go.
I'm very lucky.
Gary, we appreciate you spending time with us here on Aero-News and at the AEA live sessions that we've been producing all this week. We'll be back in just a few moments. We are at the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan, just outside Dallas, Texas. We're happy to represent AEA, and of course we're the Aero-News Network, and we will be back in just a few moments. See you in a bit. Let's get the yawn in before we go to air. And we're back at the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan. Just having a really solid time getting up to date with some of the real innovators and newsmakers within the avionics community. And I gotta tell you, if you look at the various segments of aviation, whether it be airframe, whether it be power plant or avionics, I don't think anything's driven aviation progress more in the last couple decades than avionics, and you got to give them credit for that. I am pleased to have a guest from Collins. Mark, tell me what's the latest and greatest at Collins, and of course we can get right into your announcements at the MPI from 2 days ago.
Sure. So, Collins, we've always been trying to push the forefront of technology, as you said. We've had our avionics products in the market in this segment for
I've sat behind
several
many
decades.
of them.
That's right. So ProLine 421, ProLine Fusion have been staples for many operators for some time.
Oh, I go back to much earlier versions of that.
That's right. And then in recent years, we've had a lot of interest in the cabin segment with our venue product line and some of the stage and applications that go along with that. And so that's really been a hot seller here in the last few years as connectivity has really ramped up. And so that's really our new product introduction here this week has been our Venue Smart Monitor. So we announced that as a new product this week here at the show. And it's something that has really been born out of feedback from our existing customers. So our venue products are kind of complex systems that are really kind of designed for larger cabin aircraft. And this allows us to do kind of two things. Number one, it brings 4K resolution to our, and this is a mock-up about what the size of it is. Brings 4K resolution to display technology into the cabin. And it also provides an entry point for us to provide a standalone solution in smaller aircraft such as turboprops and very light jets, where we have traditionally been challenged because of the complexity of the venue system. So really some of the benefits of the Venue Smart Monitor, I mentioned the 4K display resolution. It also brings a 4 terabyte solid state hard drive, which allows for storage right on the device itself. And that eliminates some extra equipment that we have to provide today in the form of a file server or similar, allows that all to be borne right into the unit itself. So that's very exciting for us. And then we also bring some additional DisplayPort technology with HDMI inputs, and then providing for different applications for the future with that a processor that's built right into the unit. And so what that really allows us to do is consolidate a lot of the hardware we have in our venue installations today, put that into one standalone unit, and then that really simplifies the installation for a lot of the MROs and shops out there.
And just as important, keeps the downtime down to a dull roar.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Excellent.
And for some of the smaller operators, one of the big appeals is AirShow has been a staple in our product line as well as a moving map display for the cabin for some time. And some of those products are getting a little long in the tooth, and so with the 4K resolution and the simplicity of this unit, it allows us to enter into that smaller segment with a standalone AirShow replacement, which we call AirShow HD. So this single unit can provide all of the capability that we have today in a 3-box system that eliminates the need for underfloor wiring and that file storage unit I mentioned earlier.
So no ripping out interiors or anything?
For some aircraft, that'll very much be the case.
Whoa, that's a major money saver.
That's right, and we'll eliminate woodwork for a lot of people as well when they're installed in a seating arrangement as well.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I imagine that's going to be on a number of people's lists coming off the MPI. Excellent. What else new is happening around the Collins world?
Well, as I mentioned, we've been very focused on connectivity and some of the options. Another thing we're showcasing here this week is
horrendously competitive part of the industry right now.
For sure.
I'm waiting to see people get baseball bats out at this point.
Well, we haven't resorted to that just yet, but
it's coming.
Yeah, it may be. we certainly a lot of the buzz with some new folks entering the market. And really where we've been trying to focus is on the utility of the connectivity rather than the connection itself. I mean, as you said, there's only so much you can do in that space. So where we see a lot of the opportunity is in the handheld, portable electronic devices that people are using, iPads and the like, and the ability to use that connectivity and provide more of an interactive experience to the operator. So our Venue app for iPad, for example, pairs with the Venue Smart Monitor and provides control and display of a lot of the options that we have. And then it also provides the connectivity through, whatever your source happens to be for the aircraft itself, whether it's us or one of the other options you mentioned. So, and then we're also showing how we can wirelessly transfer things like flight plans and so forth to our ProLine Fusion system. If you're using a flight planning app like AirInc Direct, which we supply, or a ForeFlight, or take your pick, being able to wirelessly transfer what you're working on pre-flight to the cockpit itself once you sit down and strap in. That's just a measure of simplicity that I think is the market is pretty much becoming market expectation at this point. So we've introduced a new product which uses a portable USB device to bring that into some of our legacy cockpits as well. So that's been, the reaction to that has been very positive as well.
Well, Collins has such a legacy in regards to servicing this part of the industry. I've got to imagine it must be a lot of fun around the office when people are given the go-ahead to start dreaming up the next product and so forth, with the amount of institutional knowledge you've built to this point. But how is the Collins of old being reflected in the Collins of today?
Well, it's a great point. So that legacy of excellence really, dating back to, the North Pole expeditions and so forth, where, Art Collins made his name. We're still carrying that legacy through, and the evolution of electromechanical HSIs and ADIs in the 50s and 60s, and migrating that into the digital revolution in the 90s, and then into really the software revolution of the 2000s. We're continuing with that, and I think one of the trends that we're finding is that we're beginning to hear a piece of feedback from the market that they're looking for more control and ownership of some of the software options that the avionics providers have traditionally owned and provided. So there are a lot of app developers out there. There's an app for everything now on your phone, and I think there is very much an appeal to having avionics systems work in that same way. So we're starting some foundational work in that space as well, and hopefully in a couple of years we'll be sitting here talking about a new wave of products that take that to the next level. So
there you go. Well, one of the big questions from those of us in the pilot community is, where does ProLine go at this point?
Yep, ProLine's going to continue.
Oh no, ProLine will be here long after the rest of us are dust. Let's face it. But I mean, there's some things in this world you can count on, and that's one of them. But I mean, what is the future of that development program?
So we are constantly adding new STCs and new platforms to really both of our mainline variations right now. ProLine 21's been around for 20 plus years. And believe it or not, we're still adding new platforms to that. And then ProLine Fusion being the newest of the two. And those are more complex developments because of the increased display area and so forth. So we're still doing that. And those new functions and platforms come out seemingly on a daily basis. So at some point we will pivot, as I mentioned, to a newer form of technology, and maybe I'll drop a little hint here, a new variation of the ProLine theme. So more to follow on that, but that is in the works. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. As I said, having sat behind many of your panels at various times and points in my career, it's just always fun to look back at what you have versus what you have now and just kind of go, gee whiz, cool, and go from there.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. How are you folks integrating within the AAM and UAM spaces?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. You mentioned connectivity being sort of the wild west, and that's another area that's very similar.
AAM in particular is it's the bloodbath of the future. The big thing is that whatever survives all that is going to be what changes aviation.
For sure, and I think our view is at this point, we have traditionally gone for the larger multi-place cockpits where, the operator really appreciates the benefit of a more complex system, right? And frankly, in those smaller platforms, we're not as competitive from a size, weight, and power. So we're really focusing on the automation applications and some of our, air data probes and sensors, which are commonplace throughout the market. So those are kind of the two places where we're focused. My personal opinion, I think the AAM market there are just so many entrants. Just the economics, it's not possible for all of them to make it, right? And that's a dogfight.
95% of them are going to kill each other off.
Probably.
It's the survivors that are going to be interested.
That's right. And as those companies, die off and are sold, and the technology that remains will benefit all of us.
Bingo. So that's been a major item of conversation these last couple of days. What remains, and how it affects us all.
That's right.
The airplanes and air transportation systems of the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about, single pilot operations and simplified vehicle operations now.
There's always the dog in the pilot operation we've been talking about. Bring the dog along and to bite the pilot if he touches anything. So,
that's right.
The automation aspect is fascinating and worrisome both at the same time.
Yes, agreed.
We'll have to see what comes of it all, although, if Alpha gets its way, nothing will be touched. We'll see. I've been watching them fight that one out, and I'm just sitting there in the background going, go for it. We'll see. It's, you look at what we're fighting right now, and they want to take the safety system, the ultimate safety system out, which is a trained pilot. You just kind of wonder. And what you really want that trained pilot to have is the best gear in the world to be able to work their way out of whatever occurs. So we shall see.
I think about single pilot operations really the same way that I think about single engine operations in a multi-engine environment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're designing a multi-engine airplane, you have to be able to prove to the certification authorities that the airplane can still fly on one engine. That doesn't mean that you're going to intentionally operate it on one engine. I think single pilot is going to evolve the same way. So if the level of automation that it takes to fly with a single pilot doesn't mean that that's what you're going to do as normal operation. But when the other guy is incapacitated or is out of the flight deck for whatever reason for a period of time, and then an emergency happens, the automation is there to assist the person that is sitting there. So I think that's how it's going to manifest itself. And frankly, I think some of the excitement about people fearing losing their jobs, I think it's a little bit misplaced. It's just technology for the purpose that it's intended.
Indeed. In your attendance here at AEA 2024, what's been your observation on the health of the community and the people that you're talking to? What are they telling you?
Yeah, I think it's been very encouraging. I think the turnout has been very good. We are seeing, we have a robust, network of dealers, over 300, that sell our products into the space, and we've seen more of them actually exhibiting here than we have in the past, and I think that's a positive sign of.
Well, they have a record for exhibitors.
Yes, yeah, for sure, and end users as well. So, getting to interact directly with some of the operators was sort of an unexpected benefit, I guess, of the show this year. So, in terms of the feedback that they're giving us, we've mentioned we had a lot of positive feedback about the new product and the Venue Smart Monitor. A lot of people talking about connectivity and cabin management systems, certainly. A little less so, I would say, on the front end avionics and some of the, sort of human machine interface ideas with pilots. But certainly, that's been a staple as well. So it certainly appears to me like, we've been talking about a settling of the market as we kind of return to post-pandemic economic situation, but it appears to me like we're poised for another run-up.
No, that's every inclination I'm hearing right now, which is exciting for the industry, but other aspects of the industry are starting to feel the same way. And on the light side, with the advent of Mosaic and everything else, this could be a very interesting industry for the next few years, at least.
Agreed.
At least, and we're hoping interesting in a good way, so we shall see. Mark, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us here on Aero-News and at AEA Live. If you would, keep us up to date on what's the latest and greatest out there. If you got any new great Proline toys to play with, call me. I'm your man, and we'll be up there in no time flat. I sure appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Alrighty, okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break as we set the stage for Ryan Stone of Smart Sky. Speaking of the war over connectivity, did he bring his baseball bat? No? Okay, you're safe. We look forward to being back in just a few moments. We're live from the 67th AEA Convention, 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show in Dallas, Texas at the Gaylord Texan. I'll be right back as soon as Nathan gets through all of his stuff in the back here.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat, cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.
Send Solutions is proud to announce a software edition for the already certified AirText Plus that is set to revolutionize navigation security. This is the first independent spoof-proofing product on the market, designed to keep your navigation system accurate and error-free. Your exposure to spoofing is growing as the technology becomes more readily available. Find out how to protect your aircraft from spoofing at goairtext.com.
A special month is coming to Sun & Fun's 50th fly-in celebration. Multi-platinum singer Dylan Scott. Out here living my best life. Yeah. Dylan Scott with special guest Sarah Evans. Ponytail girl grown up to be a woman, now she's gone in a blink of an eye. Get your tickets now. Be a part of the kickoff celebration for Sun & Fun's 50th fly-in. Go to flysnf.org.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
I think it's a very important thing to share the joy and love of flying. Our customers fly to remote places. They use our products to go places that are difficult to get to. Hertz has been an excellent partner for Whip Air, just in terms of your product support, as well as keeping an eye on the market and developing new products that meet demands. It is that shared experience and the joy of flying that brings us all back and charges all of our batteries up.
And we're back. We're at the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We are getting down to the last few guests of what's been a great week, discovering what's new, what's interesting, what's exciting, and what's innovative in the aviation electronics community. And I'll tell you what, I don't think the industry's ever been more innovative. It's certainly never been more competitive. And I don't remember it ever being this much fun. So yay all the way around. So good news for everybody. Ryan Stone, Smart Sky, one of the most competitive aspects of the avionics community under the big broad term of connectivity. We keep expecting the various members of that community to show up with baseball bats and just fight it out on the floor. But so far we're behaving.
We're showing up with new antennas and radios, and we're fighting it out on the MRO floor,
there you
OEM
go.
floor, and then in the skies.
There we go. Let's out-innovate them rather than beat them up. So
yes.
That works. Tell me what's the latest and greatest with Smart Sky, first of all.
So Jim, thanks for having us. Smart Sky is having a phenomenal year. In the past, we'd focused on getting our network launched and live and getting customers onboarded. And now we're through that phase, and now it's the growth phase. So we have customers, those customers are raving about the service, whether they're on small aircraft like King Airs, CJ3s, Pilatus, Phenom 100, all the way up to the heavies. We just launched a Latitude last month. You got a runner.
Yeah, there we go.
We launched a Latitude, we're on other Falcons, and what we're seeing is a realization that everyone talked about for the longest time, and you alluded to it in your opening, which is that we've been sort of bottlenecked as an industry in connectivity, dealing with legacy technologies, and there's been a lot of innovation, and now for the first time, you have in the US 25,000 business aircraft, and yet almost none of them have a high-speed, bidirectional, low-latency connection, which is what you have in your house and your office. And so we're literally greenfield in that sense, but also the market that has been exposed to connectivity is now going through an upgrade cycle. So they know what they had, and now they get blown away by what is now available from us and then other suppliers that are starting to bring their wares to the market. So it's a very exciting time for Smart Sky.
How do you differentiate yourself in this uber competitive market that now has attracted the likes of Elon Musk and God knows who's next at this stage of the game, but everybody has their hook, their way to stake a claim to a singular piece of the market. What's yours?
So for us, I would say we are the only solution that is high performance at an affordable price. So you can spend a lot of money on some exotic satellite systems and get mostly high performance, but maybe you sacrifice on latency or the return link. We have the complete package of high speeds to the plane, high speeds off the plane, low latency. Every passenger can do what they want on their devices, and we can do that for a small aircraft at $99 an hour, unlimited data. And if you're in a larger aircraft, you could be at our hourly plan, and you're paying like $225 an hour for the same thing. And to be able to have unlimited data and just do what you need to do, that is game changing for the industry at a low price point.
Well, the reason we run around in these airplanes is to go out and do business and do things, and yet that period of time when we're airborne or have to support the flight that we're on or the business that we're doing, it becomes critical. I told the story with one of the other operators the other day of a CJ3 I was crewing on for a while with the former chairman of the board of the Bob Hoover Legacy Foundation, for which I get to serve as executive director, but a guy by the name of Tracy Forrest, and I'll tell you what, the minute we were off the ground, he's going, your airplane, and he's his laptop out, and he's doing things and getting things done, and this, that, and the other, and do you want to do barbecue in Texas? I'll set the reservation up now. And I mean, and then at the same time, he's got business being done consistently, and no matter what the price was then, it was how he did business. It's how he could afford to do business.
That's right.
And it's an extraordinary technology that actually makes the airplane even more valuable.
To put it in perspective, because everyone uses the internet for different things and at different times for different things. So you may be very productive Monday through Friday, but on the weekends you want to kick back and watch Netflix while you're going to your vacation home or whatever your needs are. And it strikes me as really interesting. Like today, we just had one of our customers do a flight from Charlotte to LAX, and they used 8.75 gigabytes of data.
Darn.
On one flight. The monthly plans in the past
somebody
from
was on
competitors,
the Playboy
it was
channel.
5 gigabytes for a month. We did almost 9 gigabytes on one flight. And that's not, like, it's just possible. That's what happens when you can start to really move data and use data, and then you don't think about it anymore. It just is an extension of the office. And then it's what's next. Like, how can you use the services of high-speed connectivity for not just the cabin, but the cockpit and operations, like better weather, all sorts of things that we all rely on and sometimes take for granted in flight planning on the ground. Now you have that real time in the air as well.
Outstanding. Talk about the Smart Sky installation. What does it take? How does it affect the aircraft? What kind of equipment is involved? Weights, installation issues, and things of that nature as compared to everything else that's out there.
Sure. A Smart Sky installation is extremely similar to an air-to-ground installation that many of you are familiar with and have done in the past. We have a radio that goes, it can go outside the pressure hull, so it just depends on your aircraft and the STC as to where it would go. A lot of times they're in the back cargo area, although on some of the other aircraft we're doing right now, they're going in the nose side avionics bay. You have a cable that connects to a single antenna for our light system for the smaller aircraft.
Okay.
Or you'd have multiple cables if we have our flagship system, which is 2 antennas for the larger aircraft. And then inside the cabin, we allow the customer to choose a cabin wireless access point that they like, the cabin router. So many customers may already have a system, and then we just plug our system into that, or it can be something where they want a new cabin wireless access point. So for instance, the Honeywell Go Direct router as an example, Satcom Direct router, we have installations with both. And there's also a GPS antenna that goes on top for position and timing information. From a time perspective, the downtime is around 10 to 14 days, depending. So if you're doing an annual, it's a good time to get that done, or a phase check. On our STC first of a kind projects, the downtime has been about 3 to 4 weeks. So it's really not that much longer, even for the first article. But it's really convenient. And again, we're trying to hit those price points, flyaway pricing, before rebates of $175K and less for those light systems, and about say $175 to $225, $250 for the flagship. And then of course, we're not using baseball bats, we're using rebate bats. So
which may do some more damage depending on who you're dealing with.
So for the large aircraft, they can get up to $50,000 cash back, and for the smaller ones, up to $35,000 or $25,000. So it can really be an affordable install.
Outstanding, interesting. The regulatory environment around connectivity right now. What are your observations of how that's being handled, and what issues do you see for the future?
So mostly the regulatory environment for connectivity is very benign when it comes to how we've been doing it. We're all level E equipment, so in that sense, it's not safety critical and benign. There are some nuances. Recently, the FAA has been looking at re-looking at how it interprets its own Section 251 of the FARs on vibe and buffeting for analysis. So some of us were now having to do some analyses and flight tests that we didn't have to do before. No one's ever had a problem with this, but we're just doing it differently now because of FAA request. But I think where it gets interesting is when you think about these cockpit applications and messaging traffic that maybe we relied on traditional safety grade paths, but they're very expensive and slow, and you can send messages reliably using our system and other systems that are out there over internet protocol. And we're seeing that a lot more. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets integrated, because we can guarantee the message delivery, we can know that it came, and we can do it very fast and at a fraction of the price So you can improve cockpit communications, logistics, and all the like. And then we have to integrate advanced air mobility and air traffic control. I think there's a lot of room for upgrade there. That's still more the old system that you look at.
Also, a lot of black magic still
Yes.
involved there, so we'll see how that all works out in the end. There is a bloodbath coming in that community, but the technology that survives, I think, is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word bloodbath. That seems to be an overused word recently.
Oh, yeah,
in
good
the news.
point.
But I would say this. I would say that the air traffic control system is ripe for modernization.
Mm-hmm.
And the tools are all there. If you talk to everyone on the floor, you talk to at our Gamma board meetings, and we talk to the people who are manufacturing the new vehicles, you have the technical capability to have autonomous vehicles today, right now.
Yep.
We have systems that automate so many things. It's just how do you infuse that into the regulatory environment to where a controller can look at their screen and go, yes, I'm comfortable with this. The pilot says yes, and they both click yes, and then the magic happens in the machines. So there's still human in the loop, but make it easier on the human in the loop.
It'll be fascinating times, to say the least, as we go forward with all this. So what is the future of Smart Sky at this point? Where do you see the whole program going, and what do you want the company to do?
It's a great question. We were founded on the vision of disrupting aviation communications and developing the next generation of digital aviation infrastructure. And step one was get the network built and show everyone that this is really possible and can change their lives. We've now done that, check. Second step, scale. We haven't yet done that. We're in the process of scaling and getting these benefits out to more and more customers. And whether it's us or some of the newer systems that are out there, you're going to see a resurgence in connectivity and useful connectivity now that there's minimum viable performance has been established in the market. Then it's what do you do with it? And that's where the digital aviation applications come into play, making it easier for the cockpit, crew, schedulers, dispatchers. The whole journey gets digitized. And that's, I think, what's really exciting is if you look back terrestrially at what happened with the internet, and when you went from 3G to 4G and what it did to transform our lives on the ground, that transformation hasn't yet happened in the air. And we're now on the cusp of it coming. You can really feel it.
How can people get more information on the Smart Sky product line, and most important, what part of the industry are you addressing now, and what will you be addressing in the future?
Sure. So anyone who wants more information, the easiest way to get it is to go to our website, smartskynetworks.com, and we have contact us form. If you fill that out, someone will get back in touch with you. Or if you're here, just come see us at the show floor or one of the shows where we attend all the major industry events, so we're always there. What was the second question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just looking at the position, what part of the market you were looking at now, and what parts of the market are you targeting for the future?
So traditionally, the connectivity market has been focused on about 10,000 of the 25,000 airplanes, and everyone's sort of gone after that same segment of super mids and up. We have a solution that offers streaming level capability to small aircraft for $99 an hour. There's 15,000 turboprops, very light jets and light jets who have been left out and now don't have to be. You have a solution that's there for you, and that's where I really see us really making a mark. And then on the heavier side, we've been making customers happy. We'll be a great augment to their existing SATCOM systems or as a standalone for those customers that really are just domestic missions and don't go international.
Well, you've been a fun company to watch, and we're looking forward to much more of that in the future. Please keep us up to date. Aero-News is 24/7, 365, so we're always looking for the latest, greatest, and most fascinating news we can find. You guys have done that several times, and let's keep it up.
Well, we like to keep you on your toes.
There we go.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having us.
Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Alrighty, folks, we're going to take another break. And, oh boy, should I mention what we got coming next?
You can mention what we got coming next. I think people will be interested.
No, we've got a novel Starlink installation for the King Air that's been flying around here. Some of the folks from Aeromech are showing up, and we're looking forward to talking to them. It has definitely been Connectivity Week. We've talked to a number of folks in that space, And I dare say we're going to be doing a lot more of that in the future. So we'll be back in just a few moments. This is the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan in Dallas, Texas, and we will be right back. And we're back. It's the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We have the great honor today of being able to present even more guests, more technology, and more excitement. We're talking to Aeromech's Anthony Wiederkehr, COO, and we had an invitation which unfortunately weren't able to take advantage of this time, but I'm looking to in the future, where they're flying around a King Air installation of Starlink. Probably took the one off my roof, huh?
Yeah.
But at any rate, talk to me about your program, how this came about, and just how it's working out so far.
Yeah, so we're an STC ODA based in Everett, Washington. I know that SpaceX in particular, when we initiated conversations with them, they were interested in working with ODAs. And we selected the King Air model just because we know Starlink is a very innovative technology. At the time, we weren't sure of all the applications that it would have in aviation, but the King Air as a utility aircraft that's used, special mission, government, commercially for all kinds of different purposes. We thought that was a nice kind of a safe vehicle to go, and as well as the fact that King Air's got a nice flat top, that aero terminal. We thought there would be a good way to put that on the airplane.
Good platform.
Yes. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes.
So what are you learning from the process right now?
From the process of the installation?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the main thing that we're learning just really recently is on the test flights, and just trying out the system and seeing if it is as advertised. And we did quite a few test flights the last couple of days down at AFW, and it was the things that I'm learning is just how important the latency difference is. The latency difference, we were advertising under 100 milliseconds, but we were under 30 milliseconds for all the test flights. So that part, and just
Starlink is improving on that issue.
Yes, yeah, I think that's one of their big drivers right now, is trying to get the latency down consistently. And I think their other big goal is to have no 1 second or 2 second drops in coverage. They want literally none.
Yeah.
And that company, they want to optimize as much as possible, and I can appreciate that.
Well, we're seeing Starlink being used in some interesting ways, especially with the recent Starship launch. Some of the footage we were able to get off, especially, I mean, good God, we're getting video through the plasma phase, the ionization layer, through reentry, and it's working. And I'm sitting back on this and kind of going, what the hell? Seriously, how do you do that? And I can't wait till the next time. It's really been extraordinary. So to a certain extent, maybe GA and BizAv is going to be child's play for them. We'll see in the long run. What kind of speeds are you getting right now?
The upload and download speed, we were seeing between about 40 megabytes down and up to peaks of up to 300 megabytes. It fluctuates a lot. I mean, anybody that knows throughput, it's they're fluctuating measures, but that was the range that we were seeing. And upload-wise, we were between 5 and about 35 megs upload.
Okay.
I think in terms of like an average, when we look at the performance measures, we're at about 8 megabytes up on average, and down we were in the high, like we were near like 75 to 80 megs, if you were to just kind of average out the numbers I was seeing. But as you mentioned, that people like to get caught up in advertised speeds, but there's a lot more to connectivity than that.
Indeed. From an operational standpoint, what's required? Is it just I mean, as soon as avionics are powered up, is the system on, or is there something you need to do above and beyond that?
Yeah, great question. So the Starlink system is a standalone system, and so there's a dedicated power supply that powers the antenna.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so there's no need to tap in any aircraft onboard systems. It's literally just powering ground. And part of designing the STC installation was to accommodate a simple architecture, and that's what they started with something, and then they tried to take away and scale down as much as they could to reduce installation time, and just make it quite straightforward to onboard onto aircraft quickly.
Well, obviously, with a program like this, the biggest obstacle, if you will, is going to be antenna installation. So how did you solve that overall?
Well, the King Airs especially, right? Because they're a big antenna farm, so that's a great point. And what we've done under our STC actually is we've approved a range of locations in all the documents that need to substantiate the OML change that results as a result of the antenna installation. So our aerodynamic loads, icing, other documents that address that OML change, we have a range of locations that are approved for the antenna. The purpose in doing that is to accommodate special mission configurations if there's a particular area they would like to put the antenna. And we talked a lot about the fact that they are antenna farms, and inevitably sometimes you'll have to relocate a UHF or VHF antenna of some kind to a different location. But the King Air, the way Textron's built that aircraft is pretty well set up to do that fairly seamlessly. So it's not something we see as an iterative process, but could certainly come up.
Although for the moment, the Starlink antenna is not the smallest thing in the world, so getting something that, getting an installation that fares in properly with the aerodynamics as well as the structures has to be a real interesting exercise.
Yes, yeah, you're exactly right, and it's all about optimization with Starlink. I mean, they really want to optimize, and that current size of the antenna is an optimized shape and size. they have said that that's the perfect compromise between performance and size. And so I think the end goal, at least to start, is to try to figure out how to safely integrate that antenna on as many different aircraft platforms as possible.
Okay, how far are you away from commercial deployment at this point, do you think?
With our STC?
Yeah.
Oh, we issued it.
Okay.
And we actually issued it on March 9th, but we publicly announced it this week.
Okay.
So it's now
Should read
available.
my own news. Sorry about that.
No worries. It really, we just announced it and started to make press on it 2 days ago.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's out and we're able to sell it. There's a dealer network that Starlink has set up with a lot of the big folks that work on King Airs. And you can procure the equipment through a dealer, or dealers can procure directly with SpaceX, and then we just have the STC.
What model King Airs does this apply to for the moment?
Yeah, good question. So it applies to everything that Textron has manufactured from the King Air 200 all the way up through the 360s.
Okay.
So there's actually 17 different Super King Air model variants, but it does not include the 90s. It does not include the King Air 90s.
Oh, it's a bit more ovoid in the fuselage anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
That'd be an interesting game.
Yeah, that would be. Yep.
Yeah. Costs?
So cost for our STC and PMA package is $69 grand.
Mm-hmm.
The MSRP for the Starlink equipment is $150,000.
Okay. And operational expenses?
Operational expenses, I don't know those offhand. What I've been told is that a lot of the MROs have looked at the ICA and said, "Oh, this is not going to be anything." If there's no like annual requirement, we tried to sync up anything that you had to look at or any inspections with normal King Air maintenance intervals. So I don't think there's going to be anything there that's going to surprise anybody.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard some numbers from a variety of different sources, and I was joking with one of the Starlink folks a week before last. I said, "Man, doesn't this qualify as a recreational vehicle? Come on, man, just keep it up, keep the prices down." But I also look at the pricing they have for the cruise ships and all, and I'm just going, "Whoa, shit, ouch!"
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not in that business.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, it does the job, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of use cases where that the technology that they're selling is, it's a good value proposition for a lot of different missions.
On top of that, when you start integrating next generation antennas, because I've seen some stuff coming all up the line, and I'm pretty excited about that. What they've just done with the residential stuff has been remarkable, but what's coming down the line, or what they're telling me is coming down the line, it's going to be very impressive.
Yeah.
We're not quite to handheld, but we're getting there.
Yeah. And Jim, as you mentioned, it's just it's a dynamic company and they move quick. So yeah, you're right. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
What other airframes are you looking at this point? You can't be just you can't be satisfied with just King Airs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've discussed other airframes. We haven't yet really decided what's next. There's been a lot of discussions on what the priorities would be, and of course, looking at ways to meet some of the airframes with the size of the antennas. Something that, again, we want to kind of optimize and evaluate fully before we jump into anything else. So there's definitely other potential programs in work, but we don't really have anything right now that we can announce.
How is the industry receiving you? This has been an extraordinarily competitive segment of the avionics community. I was joking before with Ryan from Smart Sky that we think all the connectivity guys are going to start showing up with baseball bats and protect their turf. But this is something new. This is something that's recent, and with some very entrenched, very highly invested companies. How do you compete with that?
Yeah, I think really, I have to credit Starlink more than anything we've done. Just in the last 6 months with some of the changes they've made on to accommodate business aviation King Airs, I think it's really opened up the market quite a bit, potential market. And so, we've seen a lot of interest at the show. I think I think they've done their research, and then once they knew what they had to do in terms of subscription and pricing, they just moved quickly and set up a dealer network. And so, I expect there's going to be good uptake here. I think a lot of people are excited, and especially internationally. I think there's good excitement there as well. So of course we'll continue to go through a validation of our STC and try to get it out to as many certifying authorities as we can.
Cool. Well, you have to keep us up to date on what you're doing, and somewhere down the line maybe we can meet up and fly the system and see it for ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in looking at the installation. That's got to be fascinating. And more important, everybody's got a different way to do things that require modification of the aircraft, and that's always been a fascinating additional issue for me to look at, because boy, there's some real creativity when people start ripping up interiors and start laying down cable and figuring out, you know, what bulkhead's going to support this and that. It's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. No, would certainly love to keep you and your channel in touch with all updates as I can provide them to you. And yeah, I fully expect we'll have more updates coming up here in the next months.
Good deal. How can people get more information on what you're doing?
Yeah, great question. We our website, aeromechinc.com, we have a page that has an overview of the system. There's Starlink sales at aeromechinc.com will also give you that information. There's a press release that was released by Business Wire that kind of goes over the highlights of the system and what the benefits are. And of course, if there are any other questions, you know, there's contact information on our website, and that'd be a good way to get, you know, specific questions about a particular King Air, if I can put the antenna here or put the LRUs there, you know, so that would be the best thing to do.
Super. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. I sure appreciate you being able to take the time to work with us. And again, sorry we missed the flight. We'd like to have tried it and see if everything speeds along as we expect.
Yeah, we'll try to get you on one, Jim.
There we go. Alrighty, folks, we're going to take another break. We're coming up on Ash Vidge and Guardian Avionics, who has some really intriguing and innovative ways of bringing additional functionality into your glass panel. And at the very end, Rick Perry, who is AEA's Mr. Regulation. They're flat out regulatory environment. Nobody knows it better than Rick. The only problem is once you get them started, you can't get them stopped. So this could be a long interview. So we'll be back in a moment. We are live at the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the Gaylord Texan near Dallas, Texas, and we shall return. And here we go. We are live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show near Dallas, Texas at the Gaylord Texan. And getting down to the end of the wire here. We've only got 2 more guests before we finish up our 3rd day of live streaming at this particular AEA convention. It's been an extraordinary event for us because there's an upbeat feeling. People are positive. Business is being done. Unfortunately, we don't get a cut of that, not a darn bit of it, and we're going to have to renegotiate that for the future.
That's it.
There we go. I am pleased to present as our guest this time around, Ash Vidge from Guardian Avionics, and you showed me some interesting implementations yesterday for pulse ox and so forth for a Garmin system. Tell me what you're doing now. I mean, you always got some kind of portable this and that, but fill me in. What's the latest and greatest in Ash World here?
Well, you know, we've been known for our CO detectors, our iPad mounts, and USB chargers. That's been kind of our bread and butter. So one of the things that, if you remember, in the old days, we used to have the one with a pulse oximeter that used to put a finger in there, and a lot of the OEMs used to install it as an OEM product. So what we ended up doing was that we have taken this our old units and put a BLE Bluetooth in there. We're connected hardwired to the airplane system. So whatever on your watch, if you launch our app,
which we did the other day with mine.
The other day.
Yep.
And you can see I have 86 and 96 in my oxygen. It's kind of tough to see with that, but on the G1000, or the G3X and everything, your heart rate and oxygen will show up on that, in addition to our CO detector we were famous for. So Garmin has already issued the software, so as a pilot, as you're flying, you can constantly get your heart rate and oxygen on the thing. So the good thing about our system is it works with the Garmin watch. So if you have or you have a Samsung or you have an Apple.
Okay.
So we're kind of trying to make sure that all they're doing is the BLE is connecting to our hardware, and then our hardware directly goes into the airplane system. So the whole thing is, you'll see when you're flying, like your heart rate is like, say 90, and you will say, wait a minute, my normal is like,
you got bigger problems.
90, hey, I really want to bring my heart rate down because maybe you're an IMC or something. You can see your body, and then you can just calm down, relax, and you can see your heart rate coming down. So this is really more of your health, for your, what is my oxygen level? Maybe I do need to go on oxygen and get some fresh breath air. So this is really a monitor without the pilot really having to do anything, because we're constantly monitoring him from his watch.
It's a spy on your wrist there.
That's it. Well, you know, and the whole thing is, it's nice because it just displays it right on the G3X, and the customer is like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Are you looking at other platforms for the future?
You mean as far as so we're doing it with JPI, and EI also.
Wonderful.
But Garmin is kind of the leaders as far as, because Garmin has a big display, where on the JPI and the EI they have a dedicated page where it will tell you what your heart rate is and what your oxygen is.
Super. How'd you come up with that?
Well, you know, like I said, this is really an offspin of our family, of our 455, which is our pulse oximeter. And now what happened is, the pulse oximeter that we were using, after the COVID, the company stopped producing that part. So we were kind of forced to tell all the OEMs that, hey, we cannot support you now with this CO detector, with the pulse oximeter. So we ended up re-engineering it so that now it is a little better because it's constantly monitoring, versus before you had to put your finger in there physically.
I'll be darned. Interesting idea.
Yeah. It's, I mean, the customers that have been flying it really love it. We got the FAA approvals. So now it's just getting the customers really to know about the product.
what's happening with the rest of your line? You've been doing some interesting work with panel mount gear and so forth, being able to put your iPads and your iPhones and so forth and so on wherever you darn well please.
Yeah, well, this has been our, believe it or not, this one of our hardest sellers is the iPads, because as the new airplanes all are getting technology, everything is going on the left side because you can have one big display.
Yep.
Now the right side of the panel is empty. So you can slide a very nice little iPad. It's getting cool, it's getting charged. You can see your flight plan, you can see, with the Garmin, you can do your cross fills, like what you do with your iPad on the thing. So it's really to make the life a lot easier for the pilot, so he has something that's mounted and it's staying cool and getting power.
You must have some interesting stories about where some of these installations have taken place.
Oh, it is. I mean, I can tell you, if you go to our website, we have like a lot of the installs, but they're putting them in, what do you call it, 206s for law enforcement, because then they can communicate directly, because the biggest problem is iPads. Yep. Everything's gone to iPads. And so now with the cellular work on the iPads, they can send data. The customer can, the pilot can see it right there on his airplane, especially with the weather and traffic, and so it's all mounted in one location.
When you do the mounts for the iPads and the like, what's the regulatory situation with that?
So these all are FAA, NORCE approved. They're all burn tested, so that they could be installed in all Part 23 aircraft.
Okay.
So that's kind of the, so since these are a very minor installation, so any pilot, any mechanic can log it off as a minor installation instead of going for the full 337, because the FAA considers this as a minor.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah,
Really?
It is because the FAA is trying to promote safety.
Now, are you just building these around the Apple products, or are you building around some of the other tablets?
No, Apple has been kind of our standard as far as the mounts go, for two reasons. One is Apple has they have a very stringent specs and very stringent controls, where Samsung and every time they come up with a different model, it changes dimensions. Where Apple, even though they keep coming with a different model, they kind of keep the same dimensions, the sizes.
Oh, that's
like
gotta be a godsend.
The Mini has been the same for the last 7-8 years, even though the new one has a USB-C.
Mm-hmm.
The 11 has been, even with the iPad Air, they've all been the same. So it makes it a lot easier for us as far as production goes, and for the customer, he can easily upgrade from, let's say, the next new iPad that comes in, he could just slide it in.
So what's next on your innovation list?
No, just gonna keep trying to keep moving with our existing product line, and coming out with one of the new things, I didn't bring it with me, is our USB chargers now, where we have small little chargers where you can put it anywhere you want in the cockpit. So really make the pilot's installation much more easier.
That's got to be important, because right now, who's not traveling without
an iPad,
mobile device or two,
a mobile device, and everybody's looking for a
worse,
USB
the wife,
charger.
the kids, the friends, the associates, whatever. Everybody's got to plug into something, otherwise it all runs down.
It all runs down, and everybody crying.
In no time flat. Eek. Oh,
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So what are your customers telling you about how they're utilizing this kind of gear?
Well, they just love the easy mount of the iPad, really, is because now they have a place to hold the unit. Instead of getting bounced around in flight, they have a nice location. They can see all the information. They can change pages. They can go watch a movie if they want to. Because what's the great thing about the iPad is, all you have to do is hook up your iPad to the Bluetooth to the intercom, so your customer sitting on the right seat can watch a full movie stationary into his headset, because on the intercom you can give the co-pilot his own voice while you're talking to ATC. Mm-hmm. And if you want to switch to listen to the movie while you're in flying, you could just switch over and listen to both.
There you go.
So it's really a very, very easy installations.
Ash, where does all this come from? I mean, you came out of nowhere, first with the monoxide monitoring and things of that nature, and developed, equipment, piece of equipment after piece of equipment. But what inspires all this?
I just love aviation. Ever since I was a little kid, all I want to do is aviation. I have, if I can tell you...
Speak it to me, brother.
I will die in aviation.
No, please don't.
No. I know it sounds stupid, but if it did, it would be, for me, because I love aviation so much. Ever since I was 10 years old, my mom came to America. Ever since then, all I want to do is watch 747s. And then luckily, I've been able to slowly grow the companies. And I've been been God lucky.
Well, it's been, it's innovative stuff, and the best part is there have been copycats out there, but nobody's established the foothold that you have, and it's been fun to watch, and I can't wait to see what's next. That's the best part of the whole thing, is just watch the innovative process.
And that's what I do, because like I said, I'm not smart enough to do anything else besides aviation.
That's a scary thought. One I definitely emulate in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
How has all this been received here at AEA?
Knock on wood, very nice. We had a few distributors coming in and placing orders. Knock on wood, it's been especially at this kind of show where you're really getting these avionics shops. So they're like, okay, what is this? Let me see how, So I think it's been very good for us.
The reports we have on this show this year have been outstanding.
Yeah,
they really have been.
I think they have told, I don't know, it's like sold out in the size of this thing, and it's incredible. I mean, so I think it's,
hopefully the aviation is heading
stable,
back into better territory
after COVID and everything.
Oh boy, we ran through a really tough couple of years.
Oh my God.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Ash, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so
spending a little
much,
bit of time with us here at Aero-News. We're going to take another break here, folks. Following this and closing the day and our coverage of the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show will be Mr. Regulation, Rick Perry from AEA. And we look forward to chatting with him. The big question again, we can start him, but we don't think we can stop him. We shall see. Ash,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Before you go, tell everybody how they can get more information on your product line.
Yes, please go to guardianavionics.com. That's just www.guardianavionics.com. And it's all our stuff is online.
Very good. All righty, we will see you in a few minutes. I see Rick Perry on the horizon here. Here comes trouble. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.
Ascend Solutions is proud to announce a software edition for the already certified AirText Plus that is set to revolutionize navigation security. This is the first independent spoof-proofing product on the market, designed to keep your navigation system accurate and error-free. Your exposure to spoofing is growing as the technology becomes more readily available. Find out how to protect your aircraft from spoofing at goairtext.com.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
I'm currently using the Hartzell Talon, by far the best aerobatic propeller ever come out.
I use the Trailblazer. It adds performance to the Super Decathlon and dependability, and it's rugged.
Hartzell's been an excellent partner for Whip Air, just in terms of your product support as well as keeping an eye on the market and developing new products that meet demand.
It's helping us all have better performing airplanes.
It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
And we're back. We are live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan near Dallas, Texas. We have had the better part of 20 of aviation's innovators talk to us over the last 2 days. And prior to that, 25 new product sessions with, I don't know, combined almost 50 products. Extraordinary news being made here and proof positive that while a lot of things drive aviation, I'm not sure that anything drives aviation more swiftly than in the avionics community. And right now, we're just thrilled to see what's next and talking to folks and doing the usual, oh, cool. But then again, as we say, this is where the cool stuff is.
That's exactly.
Rick Perry, you're Mr. Regulation. You're the guy that everybody goes to when they're looking for an answer as to what's happening up at the Puzzle Palace. So I'll let you start with your hot topics, and then we're going to have to get to the nitty-gritty.
I understand.
Rick Perry, take it away. It's your audience.
Thank you.
We've been warned.
Well, there's 4 short topics for you.
Short topics in Rick Perry language?
Short topics in Rick Perry language.
We could be here days, folks.
There's 3 active NPRMs that are out for public comment.
Yes.
One is titled Maintenance Programs for Single Engine Turbine-Powered Aircraft. It's arguably the longest name of a NPRM that you can get out there. But it's important to understand because within that, there is regulatory proposals for management of inoperable equipment on a 91 aircraft, on GA aircraft. Okay? There's two elements to 145 that are changing. One is the data that a repair station must maintain on hand. It's relieving, it's a good proposal, it's relieving from normal. And then there's some clarifying language for contract maintenance. So that's one NPRM. There's another NPRM where the FAA is taking all of the falsification elements out of all the different regulations, 21, 43, 119, and 145, and consolidating them into Part 3 in general language, falsification language that applied across the board. Again, not a bad proposal at all. Internationally, there's a proposal to require drug and alcohol testing at foreign repair stations. That's one people need to pay attention to.
Okay.
We've got a 90-day extension on it. It runs out in the middle of April. But that's one that if you're a foreign repair station, if you work with a foreign repair station, primarily commercial operations, so this is an important one to pay attention to. The fourth element is SMS. We know we're going to get a final rule sometime mid-year to third quarter of this year. We know that's coming out. We know that the FAA took repair stations out of the SMS proposal, okay? However, SMS is a mandate in both the Brazilian bilateral agreement as well as the EASA EU bilateral agreement.
Okay.
That affects 1/3 of all domestic repair stations.
Oh boy.
They have 18 months to do a voluntary SMS program to satisfy the bilateral agreements. We have a session, all-day session tomorrow, specifically addressing that. And the FAA's revised voluntary program is being revised as part of this final rule coming out later this year.
Okay.
So we don't want anybody to run out and go do a voluntary program, but we do want these 1,400 repair stations to begin the process of implementing an SMS, because it takes every bit of 18 months to get it up and running and operational.
Okay.
And so that's a big one for everybody.
All right. Next.
That's it.
That's it?
Just those four.
Really?
Yep. I told you it'd be short.
It's still Thursday.
I know.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I know.
Well, obviously, the thing I wanted to get to, because it's the question everybody's asking, and there's so much misinformation out there. All these incident experts, all these incident, these influencers. Well, I've got, the inside scoop on Mosaic. Mosaic has the potential to be one of the most important things to happen to GA in many, many moons. It also has the potential to be one of the biggest disappointments we've ever seen, because the furor built up over this impending reg is huge. Mr. Regulation, what's happening with Mosaic?
Well, like any rulemaking, Mosaic is followed under the Administrative Procedures Act.
God help us.
And they have specific timelines they have to satisfy. All indications is that it's on target to be final rule, I think, first or second quarter next year, and probably implemented in third quarter 25. That's my guess.
Okay.
I know they got, I think the number was 2,500 comments. I know when I was looking at the at regulations.gov, which is where you can review all these things, they definitely were in the 2,000, 3,000 range, and those were individual letters submitted. So if one letter had 3 topics, that's 3 comments, not 1 comment. And so my guess is they've got close to 5,000 unique elements. But what they're going to do is they're going to consolidate those, because all of the like ones, the common ones, will get filtered out. And there'll be a couple of hundred focused, unique comments in this process.
What are we going to get?
That crystal ball is going to be interesting because I think you have to look at what was proposed.
Yep. Well, you and I talked about the history of this.
Oh yeah,
last
very
November.
much so.
Yeah.
And the challenge with this is that if you look at Mosaic, it's misleading title, okay? Because it's not
misleading from the FAA.
I know.
Who knew?
It's not
I'm so
just
disappointed.
modernization of special airworthiness certificates. Half of the proposal was really about sport pilot licensing and sport pilot utilization. My best guess is most of that will come through unscathed.
Okay.
AEA did a lot of historical review because we wanted to give the FAA the best options on the table. We actually suggested that the sport pilot should be able to fly primary category light sport aircraft on down. Okay? What that does from a technical perspective is it's, I believe, 86 knots stall speed on down. Okay? Or, yeah, okay. 68 knots. 68 knots on down. I don't see a lot of change to what they proposed. They proposed 64. A lot of the folks had suggested 66. Primary category was 68. It doesn't make sense not to follow that line.
Okay.
I think that will go unscathed.
Good.
So for all of the pilots who are looking for sport pilot to be able to fly, more aircraft, I don't see an objection to that. The proposal split sport pilot from LSA. So no matter what happens to the LSA aircraft, the sport pilot proposal isn't tied to the light sport aircraft. Okay? They proposed a Part 22. I don't necessarily agree with some of the limitations of 22, but I'd see nothing that would prohibit 22, the creation of Part 22.
Okay.
All of the other authorities throughout the world have a 22. It's a little bit broader than what the FAA had proposed. I think we should harmonize what 22 applies to with everybody else, but still it would create a 22, so I don't see that going away. The larger, more complex light sport aircraft, I think that's problematic.
Okay.
Okay?
That's what everybody's betting on, though.
Well, so the interesting part of it is, I don't discount the availability of a simple to manufacture, simple to produce, larger, more complex aircraft. But I think they hitched their horses to the wrong wagon.
How so?
In 1989, actually, let me back up to the early 80s, the operating community, the alphabet groups that represent the operating community, had lobbied for the agency to create a certification for aircraft to be used in flight training that was simple to manufacture, simple to produce, built to consensus standards to eliminate the high cost of aircraft. In 1989, we had a proposal to allow that. In 1992, that proposal was granted. So the reality is, we're in 24.
Yeah.
So for 30 years, we've had the regulatory pathway to produce the exact aircraft that Mosaic is proposing. So it's a frivolous rulemaking to make a rule that's the same as a rule that's already on the books.
But I think people are hoping for more reliance on consensus standards to develop those aircraft.
That's on the books.
Yeah.
So 1992, final rule for primary category aircraft, specifically to industry standards.
Okay.
It is everything we got with LSA.
Mm-hmm.
Let me back up.
But very little got done with it.
Well, because the policy and guidance was written, the ACs.
Yeah.
The policy and AC was written in 1992. We didn't have consensus standards.
No.
So in 92, the only standards we had was CAR 3, European light aircraft, and a Canadian standard. And so those were kind of what the policy was written around. Well, fast forward 1992 to 2004, and we start producing industry consensus standards for light sport aircraft. But we never utilized them for this old regulation that had been on the books for 20 years at that point.
So we missed an opportunity?
Yes.
Okay.
And so even today, we've been using industry consensus standards since 2004. We did it for light sport aircraft. In 2016, we added Part 23 aircraft. So we have 20 years of very well-defined industry consensus standards that this 1992 regulation fully supports, but the policy and guidance was written in 92 and has never been updated to reflect industry consensus standards.
So what's going to happen?
What I hope will happen.
Oh, here we go.
And what I have actually sent a request into the agency is to develop a rulemaking committee to update the guidance and policy for the primary category aircraft to better reflect the consensus standards that are available today.
There you go.
Now, that doesn't eliminate a lot of the technology advancements that Mosaic was proposing. The electric propulsion, things like that. Those need to migrate not only for light sport aircraft, because I support the fact that the prescriptive piston engine is a little outdated.
A little bit.
But primary category had the exact similar language for a piston engine. And so we really want to take that and all of the proposal for modernizing the technology and going to performance-based propulsion systems and stuff like that, that needs to be applied to primary category as well. The beauty of primary category is it's exportable. Exportable.
Okay, yeah. Understood.
LSA is not exportable. Yes, we export LSA aircraft.
Yes.
But they're not exported as aircraft.
No.
They're exported as vehicles. Okay? Because light sport doesn't meet the ICAO requirements. Primary category does. So I can build and certify a primary category aircraft that looks exactly like LSA, to the same consensus standards, to the same quality system, to the same process, to the same self-declaration. Get a type certificate for it and export it worldwide.
Okay. It's going to be interesting.
You know, it's rulemaking, they don't always get it right, but they always make you think. And if you go into rulemaking with the attitude of how to make it better, okay?
Yeah.
We began our aviation life, if you will, in 1926. We're 97 years into the regulatory structure of the FAA. There's nothing new. And when you go back and you do a historical deep dive into the origin of regulations and understand what the agency intended to regulate and how they intended to regulate and how much they empowered the industry to show compliance. When you get into the history of this and you come forward, it's brilliant. And I think that in the case of Mosaic, you know, it's the current giant object, right?
No.
And it's the what are you doing for me now kind of thing.
No, I'm well aware.
And when you look at things like, well, we don't really need Mosaic from the aircraft perspective, because the reality is that we already have this regulation, we're just not using it. Well, that doesn't really feed the how are you helping me now kind of thing, right? And it's a little more complex. The amazing thing is that all of the principal players on Mosaic were the principal players in 1980 when we created the regulation to satisfy them.
Where did we drop the ball then?
I don't think, I think everybody dismissed primary category because it was never utilized. It was always underutilized, without ever asking why. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's too hard to explain to people. You know.
Give them that one, yeah.
And so it's just easier to do new, you know, rather than you know, brush off the old and modernize it, update it. But what we have to get to is we have to realize we have 97 years of a regulatory continuum. And when you propose a change to the regulations, you have to go back to the history to make sure that we're not proposing what we eliminated in 1950 because industry had progressed beyond it. And we see that time and time again.
Well, 24/25 will be interesting times.
Absolutely.
I hope that Mosaic is as pivotal as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know for sure. I've got good vibes about sections of it, I think, as you have, and questions about others. It will be interesting to see what the FAA is saying by Oshkosh, especially Meet the Boss.
Right.
Because it'll be Whitaker's first time up on the podium there. And with luck, we'll have a little bit more information and maybe a little bit more direction and maybe even something to feel good about.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
And mind you, the Icon A5 just certified as primary category for export purposes.
Yeah.
That's the poster child of what can happen.
Unfortunately, it's an airplane that barely can get out of its own way. Ugh.
But the beauty of it is you're not limited to 1320.
No, not at all.
You know? In the primary category, you actually go to 3,000 pounds. The primary category was designed to be a 172.
Yeah. And hopefully a next generation 172.
Absolutely.
Whatever that looks like. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, I can't thank you enough for spending a little time with us. You and I are going to have to schedule a couple of Zoom calls to fill in the blanks on a few other things as we get further and further into this. But as always, the one thing we've always relied on in our work with AEA, and I think one of the finest organizations in aviation, is the fact that they've got you to explain the Puzzle Palace and all the crazy things that go out in Washington and basically how to spell regulation half the time. And I sure appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you.
can't thank you enough for your attempts to clear up the miasma, such as it is.
Not a problem.
Crazy. Alrighty, folks. We're going to close down this shindig. A couple little pieces of housekeeping before we finish up. A couple of weeks from now, April 9th, we will be live at Sun and Fun for the innovation preview at 10:30 Eastern Time. We've got somewhere between 25 and 30 companies promoting phenomenal new products. I've seen the list. It's really quite extraordinary. Every morning thereafter is morning brief for 10 or 15 minutes to tell you all the cool things that are happening at Sun and Fun that day and to plan your day accordingly. Every afternoon, our Holland Lee will be doing airborne, and a little bit more airborne than normal because it's Sun and Fun and you can only put 5 pounds in a 2-pound bag so many times. And then Saturday Flight Live, we will start an hour before the Daily Air Show, talk about all the cool things that occurred that week, and then follow up from there on out with the Daily Air Show itself. And it's going to be live. That's why we call it Saturday Flight Live. So it will be fun. We have a couple things we'll be talking about at Sun and Fun and beyond. In particular, January 9th to the 11th of next year, Sun and Fun has authorized a new winter fly-in to replace the events that have failed in DeLand and Sebring over the years. Great ideas, great locations, but no support for the events. And we will be producing the Affordable Flying Expo with Sun and Fun, January 9th to the 11th. We've got some interesting ideas there. Everything is going to be in hangar A and B, see if we need it. Heavy emphasis on education and workshop. Lots of flying right out in front, not out in Paradise City. You're not going to have to walk a half a mile to get there. It's going to be all out front, either the main runway or the area right out front. And on top of it, the aircraft will be tied down just outside the hangars. All the exhibits will be inside. Very convenient, very dry, hopefully warm. And we'll see how that all goes. We've got a tremendous amount of interest, and we are expecting an amazing event. Between now and then, any of you folks remember this monster? I do this for dramatic effect. You want to do that one more time? Okay. 6 pounds, 1,100 pages. Did not get written in a day. We've been doing versions of this for 30 years. The Sport Plane Resource Guide contains how-tos, directories of aircraft, engines, avionics, accessories, and so forth. But this next version was heading for 2,000 pages. And there's no way I'm doing a 2,000-page book. We unloaded this thing 5,000 at a time off of semis, and my back still hasn't recovered. So we went all digital, but all digital means some amazing things. It never goes out of date. Everybody who wants to get to the updates now has to register with us so we now know who they are and have a community and a way to communicate with them and provide additional value to them. We can do webinars, we can do audio, we can do video. All these things can be encapsulated. We're using an amazing publishing platform, and we're really excited about what's coming next, because it's also going to be the foundation for an additional effort that I'm not talking about yet. We will be talking about at Sun and Fun, but I can tell you some of the folks I'm working with are former AOPA President Phil Boyer, the best leader AOPA ever had, in my opinion. Founder of Cirrus, Alan Klapmeyer, who is also a home builder and so involved in this industry. The Society of Aviation and Flight Educators, and David St. George. Our friend Rich Stoll, who on the unusual attitude front is the best in the business, and a number of others to create something that restores the grassroots. And then we'll get into that come April 9th. So that's all of our stuff. We'll have a lot more of it on Aero-News, of course. If you've found this by accident, don't know who we are the Aero-News Network, heading into almost 30 years. www.aero-news.net. We will be doing tremendous amount of stuff at Sun and Fun as our media partner. I will be going to Friedrichshafen at this stage of the game, crossing my fingers. I'm going to have enough consciousness left to make it. So we'll have information from Friedrichshafen for you. But that's as much as I want to say at this point, and I know you got better things to do, and frankly, so do I. So we're going to close this out. It has been an extraordinary privilege. I think this is the 16th time we've done this. Would have been 17th if not for COVID. Mm-hmm. So we're pleased and proud to be associated with one of the finest organizations in aviation, the AEA, led by great people, really great people working with them and for them, and we're frankly, we come back here every year and it's like family time. Oh, hey, how you doing? Let's see the kids. What's going on? Let's see the new puppy, whatever it is. It's been great, and we really enjoy it. This effort here is conducted by several extraordinary people. Behind the curtain, the man behind the curtain, is Nathan Cremasino, has been with me for an awful long time. I don't think he even wants to measure the time involved. But he's our chief videographer, and there would be no Aero-News without Nathan. He's done an extraordinary job here. He's done an extraordinary job for years. And God willing, he'll do an extraordinary job at Sun and Fun in Oshkosh this year. And we couldn't do this without him, and we're so pleased to have him be a part of us. And well, I'll tell you what, I don't care how good your leadership is. If the people behind you aren't doing the job, you're nothing. And I've got great people. Behind the camera this time around, and as you see in Airborne each evening, Holland Lee. Holland's been with us now for, God, you gotta be pushing 2 years now, kiddo. He's done an extraordinary job with Airborne. I have no problem saying our best Airborne host yet. We're so pleased to have her here. She's always happy to work, and more important, very pleasant to be around. A little crazy, but a lot of fun to have around. And then more importantly, oh yeah, and here we go. My wife is giving me hand signals off the side. You're folding your arms, you're doing this and that. Dear, after 10 years of marriage, there's only one thing that makes sense here. This thing is organized by my wife, Masako. I can't do it anymore without her. Don't know how I did it before then. She's done an extraordinary job. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know it's going to cost me a new pair of shoes, and God only knows what else. But the minute this winds up, a couple hours, we're on the road heading home to get the puppy out of puppy jail and get ready for Sun and Fun. And that's enough. You heard me long enough. You listened to me long enough. God help you all. We have been live from the 67th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Gaylord Texan near Dallas, Texas, courtesy of our friends at AEA, and an extraordinary industry which is amazing in so many rights. But right here at AEA, remember this. This is where the cool stuff happens. Thank you very much. We will see you at Sun and Fun and here at AEA next year. Bye.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Send Solutions is proud to announce a software edition for the already certified AirText Plus that is set to revolutionize navigation security. This is the first independent spoof-proofing product on the market, designed to keep your navigation system accurate and error-free. Your exposure to spoofing is growing as the technology becomes more readily available. Find out how to protect your aircraft from spoofing at goairtext.com.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power. the USB experts.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Flying is my entire life. It's all that I've ever known. I've relied on Hartzell propellers since about 1995. Hartzell means much more than a propeller. It's a relationship. When you hear the phrase built on honor, they care about us as pilots, they care about our community, and they care about the product they build. It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.